And we're back with Legends of Lake Howell. Today we are excited to sit down and talk with Stephanie Santiago-Rolón. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So I know that you're working in the entertainment industry. That's just such a broad field. Can you tell us specifically some of the things that you're doing?
Yeah, so within the entertainment industry, specifically music within the Latin market in specific, and also doing things within the IP and intellectual property, copyright, frame of work, and how it really has to do with creatives, specifically creatives of color, which is my main focus for me within the tech policy space.
So now your original intent or goal was to be an entertainment lawyer. Yeah. So how did you find yourself here?
It's funny because today I was actually kind of looking back, right? I had a teacher here that I would always tell her that that's what I wanted to do. I was very clear that I wanted to be an entertainment lawyer since I was little. Like, I ate up Judge Judy like crazy after school, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do. Like, that was just very clear in my head. And then I want to say it was really when I dove into getting an internship at Univision, that was really where I kind of fell in love with all of this, and also just everything that had to do with event planning and doing the VIPs, everything that had to do with like the artists, the actors, and things like that that we had invited to the station, and just really noticing how also I was able to get everything that I learned from that and apply it to music. I thought that it was really cool how brands would translate super easy to getting brands for an artist. It's the same way, the same way that you need, brands to make sure, and sponsorship packages and all of that to make sure that the TV station is running. It's the same way that you need that money and sponsorship to make sure that your artist is also up and running. So it was just kind of easy to kind of merge it together. But I started working in the local Orlando music scene. I want to say back in around 2012, and it was one of those things where actually an ex-alumni also from here, from Lake Howell, she got very viral. She's from Castleberry, and she got very viral on YouTube, and it was just kind of different to see a girl from Castleberry going crazy, doing covers on YouTube, where even Justin Bieber, Nicki Minaj also posted her up. And she's like, "Oh, you work at Telemundo. Maybe you can go ahead and manage me." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, I don't know if I can go ahead and manage an artist, but I mean, why not, So I said, okay, well, let's just go ahead and apply everything that I've learned throughout these years at the TV station, and let's see how I can just go ahead and apply it to this girl. And that was the first of it all.
So what have you learned in your journey of in the music industry?
I have learned that consistency is so important. It doesn't matter if you do something one thing a day. I feel like sometimes right now we're in this culture of busy and this ridiculous to-do list, and it's true. I mean, I have a crazy to-do list, but if I don't divide it up, and if I don't delegate certain things, if I don't divide up how am I going to reach my personal goals if I don't, so I feel like really dividing everything up and having that consistency of work has helped me throughout, and I'm not crazy about that, the busy culture. I feel like it's something that's very praised right now, when rest is very important for the mind. Sometimes people think that the music industry is just long hours, late nights, and things like that. I have artists that prefer to work during the day, and making sure that I value my rest, and I value also like the consistency, and making sure that, you know, hold myself accountable to being 365 days of the year, and making sure that I can at least check off at least one thing a day.
So do you work primarily out of an office space, or are you like more mobile?
I'm mobile. I was out in Puerto Rico for a week. I just got back late last night. Really the bulk of my clients are in Puerto Rico, being that, you know, the Latin urban market is pretty big out there. And so, you know, last week I had 2 shows. Thursday night started at 1:50 in the morning, 2 hours away from where, you know, the mainland where we usually are. Finished at 4 o'clock in the morning. Had to make sure that all the guys were set, camera, everything. 2-hour ride back home. Next day, like it's always something different. 2 days later, you know, we had the Coca-Cola Music Hall. It's an artist. His name is Amarion, kind of like Omarion, but with an A. And so, you know, we had the Coca-Cola Music Hall on Saturday. It's a venue of about almost 4,000 people, and he was featured on that particular show. Had sound check. You know, there's a consistency of like different little things. You know, making sure that his team is set, making sure that the, you know, sound check is good. His outfit is good. Did he get his cut? You know, and then I have a female too out there. We had a video on Tuesday. You know, she's got a half-shaved head, so we got to make sure her barber appointment is set, and then her hair appointment is set. Okay. So, you know, it's a number of like different types of things like that I had throughout the week. Then I had a meeting on Monday about, you know, tech policy type stuff that I work on too, which is a big passion of mine too. Apart from obviously working with, you know, with artists, that obviously goes hand in hand. But it's just, you know, I kind of weave my 2 passions, and it's a mix. It's a mix of activities throughout the week.
So you mentioned that you work a lot with a lot of Latin artists. Is that by design, or just worked out that way?
I started doing things with English, you know, language, English-based artists. And I guess because my background was in Latin TV, like Spanish TV, my, you know, the conglomerate of my, the people who I would just be with on a daily basis would be just Spanish people, you know? So just kind of worked out better for me at that point. But then, you know, you have the US market, and then you have the Latin market, but in Puerto Rico, and then you have the Latin market, but in Latin America, and then that's divided by a number of different countries. So it's also like learning that, and so kind of like I guess, you know, by design, you know, from my background and also what my main core language is, it just kind of made sense to just go from there. And then the fact that I spoke English, it just was a huge benefit for me. Like I'm a big believer of, if you're Spanish, try to learn Spanish, try to speak Spanish. Like if your parents didn't teach you, get on Duolingo. Like I think it's a huge benefit, and I don't think that it's stressed as much as it should be. Like when people are like, you know, when kids are kids, you know, because maybe like their parents didn't get taught when they're little. But I'm such a big like believer of making sure that you like hold true to your native language. It's helped me so much. It's the reason why I was able to do Spanish TV.
So you've become an advocate, so to speak, for some of the minority artists.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you've noticed that they don't, like new artists, they don't really understand as they're coming into the industry? Like what are some of the things that they just, I guess they just want to be in, maybe play the guitar or sing, but they don't understand, sounds like the business side of it. So what are some of the things that they struggle with?
Education. And in the beginning, I was like, oh, well, you know, there's no access to education, but everybody has phones. And you can literally get on YouTube and learn so much. And you can, you know, there's books on this. Now, I feel like, I don't feel like, I think artists, producers, writers, don't understand that they're just like, this is school, like there's school for that too. And you have to learn. There's things that you have to learn. You can't just like do this with just talent. Because if you just do this with just talent, like you're gonna go far and, you know, but if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know what you're signing, if you don't know, you know, like then a lot of things are gonna go left at that point. So I guess really like that drive for education, and that's one of the things that I, you know, really try to kind of engrave in people's mind, is that drive for education and that drive for knowledge. And to just really understand that at the end of the day, with everything that has to do with music, is the same thing as if you want to do anything else in life, you have to learn. Like, and for me, I consider myself a student to the game forever. I'm not ever going to feel like I know it all or anything. Like, you know, I've done some amazing things and I'm really thankful, and like God has really placed me in like some amazing like places, but I'm forever going to be a student to the game, because specifically within music, technology is just so ever changing. This whole AI thing now, you know, and it's just making sure that people understand that it's like, yeah, you can get out of high school, you can get out of college and whatever, but you get into whatever other thing, you're still gonna have to learn. And you're still gonna have to take those baby steps in order to, you know, learn and try to be a master at anything else.
So speaking of education, I have something in front of me. It's copyright. Is this something that was written by you?
So I reviewed it along with the Copyright Office. So technically, since I don't work for the Copyright Office, I was able to like write it out. But so basically, the Copyright Office at the time, United States Copyright Office in particular, they didn't have any pamphlets or anything in Spanish. So it wasn't until like 2019 that, you know, they were able to go ahead and make that happen. That was actually after an event done by one of my friends out there in Washington, D.C. She's a lawyer whose focus is also on, you know, minorities and civil rights and tech policy within. And is actually someone who, you know, I admire so much, and someone who, like, once I went to one of her first events, I completely fell in love and fell obsessed with, you know, helping out, you know, any creative in general. And this is not just for music, this is obviously for anybody who's a creative. So if you have an idea, you have to learn how to protect it. And why not learn how to protect it in your own language? So for that in particular, that's how that kind of, you know, came about. I just went up to the booth and I noticed that they didn't have anything in Spanish, and I asked how I was able to be a resource for them. And thankfully that was able to come out.
So you've done quite a bit of work, and as a matter of fact, you were recognized by Remezcla as a major mujeres. Talk about that. How did you feel to be recognized?
I mean, it's super cool because Remezcla is it's a bilingual blog out of New York, and super well respected. But it's also a blog where I pitch artists to all the time. So all of a sudden getting that email like, hey, like, you know, you're gonna be in our inaugural list of like major mujeres. I'm like, oh, dang, that's awesome, you know? So that was pretty cool. And I feel like it's really important too. I feel like sometimes within management and just being like behind the scenes a lot within like just music and this type of work, like we don't really, you know, put ourselves like in the forefront. And it's awesome to like have corporations and just, you know, these types of blogs that want to highlight us and just really kind of talk about the cool stuff that we've done.
Yeah, because normally the work that you've done, it sounds like, has been a lot behind the scenes. So this is actually something where you're being brought into the forefront and being recognized.
Yeah, no, it was super cool. I was really excited, and especially to be, listed among like other women that I, either I've worked with or, that I look up to in general. Like, it was really cool to, to be alongside them on that inaugural list, and be able to kind of speak a little bit on what I've been able to do and what I want to do.
All right, so now we've talked about your career. Now let's have a little fun. We're going to go back in the time machine and talk about your time as a student at Lake Howell High School. So my first question to you about Lake Howell High School is, if you could describe your experience at Lake Howell in one word, what would that one word be?
I was going to say challenging, but not in a bad way.
Okay.
But that's a good one.
Challenging?
Kind of got me there.
Why would you say challenging?
I mean, because, it's interesting how, like, you think of high school, and even though, like, I knew what I wanted to do, like, deep down, I always knew what I wanted to do. I feel like high school is like that time where you kind of like overthink it too, because you have this thought process of like, oh my God, I have to figure out, like, am I gonna go to Valencia? Am I gonna go to, to UCF? Am I gonna, did I do good with my whole Bright Futures thing? Because, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, there was just so
you feel like you're in a time crunch. It's like, by the end of the 4 years, I've got to have my life figured out.
Yeah.
Or something bad, I'm just going to fall off a cliff or something.
I played volleyball 3 years, like, from freshman to junior year, and then I'm like, I'm not gonna go be a professional volleyball player. So, like, let me dedicate my last year to, like, to school and just to really, like, do what I got to do so I can make sure that, like, I go into, like, college, well-rounded. So I don't know. I feel like it was like a mix of things. I started working when I was 16. I had a part-time working at Baker's at the Altamont Mall, and that was so fun to me. I thought that I was like something else because I was like working, and it was different because it's like I had friends that weren't working at the time. So, I worked because I really wanted to. Like, I wanted to just experience, I don't know, something else. Like, I don't know, I guess I just knew what I wanted to do so bad. I was ready to just go.
Was there anyone or teacher in particular that inspired you, or it could have been several teachers when you were a student here at Lake Howell?
I had so many amazing teachers here at Lake Howell. Like, genuinely, I had Chevy that I was actually asking Revis about him.
Culinary.
Yeah, culinary. So I was the first class that did culinary all 4 years. So, like, my 9th grade year was the first time that Lake Howell had, it's crazy. That was the first time that Lake Howell actually had culinary. And so I did it all 4 years. And Chevy was amazing, like, such an amazing teacher. Anytime I talk to a teacher, I always tell them, like, you are so appreciated, because just that one thing that you can give, like, to one student, like, you can be changing their life for, like, a lifetime. I always loved to cook, and Chevy always kind of let me do my thing. I would, like, bring things from the house. I brought sofrito a couple times, that if you're Spanish, you know what that is. So I brought sofrito. I won Iron Chevy my 4th year, my senior year, with, some amazing pork chops that, like, I don't know if you were, if you were around, like, admin was definitely, everybody from admin came over and was like, Steph, what's up with the pork chops? Like, so, like, those, those moments too, like, just having such a really cool relationship, because I did peer help for two periods as well out over there in admin. Dean Poole you know, that I was able to link up with him not too long ago too. Like,
Okay.
you know, and just see where he's at this time in life, and then like where I'm at, and just talk about, you know, like back in the day. It was just super, like, so awesome. And then, I mean, what other teachers? I had so many like amazing teachers. I mean, Revis, that's like, you know, I don't feel like you need to say much about her. And it's funny because I never even had her class. She was just like right there next to Chevy, so we would always go mess around with her. She had my brother.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And then who else? Mr. Youngblood. That was my English teacher. I loved English, so he was great. I had Coach Allen, and he was awesome too. I had so many amazing teachers, like seriously, that just were just amazing role models for me, and you know, that genuinely just like I felt like they knew the type of time that I was on. I don't know if I'm like really kind of like explaining myself well with that, but
they knew your potential or what you were going to become in the future.
Yeah, because I was just always so focused. Like I knew exactly what I knew what I wanted. Like I knew exactly what I wanted. Like I wasn't like, and even when I went to college, like I can't sit here and tell you that I had like a college life. You know what I mean? Because I was working full time, 40 hours a week and even more, and going to school at night. Like I was just going. Like I wanted to just get to wherever it was. Like I knew that I was destined for something, but I just genuinely would have never thought that I would have been like, you know, heavy within the music industry. And then now in this other like facet of advocacy, I knew that I always wanted to help people. I knew that that was like a calling of mine.
So now that you've been able to advance in your career and you have quite a bit of knowledge and information, if you could go back in time and give yourself 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade some advice, what would you say to yourself now?
Don't have a boyfriend. Yeah.
That's
definitely. No, I feel like that's so important.
So don't have a boyfriend.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, focus on you. Focus on you. No, and in all sincerity, because I know if you guys show this to the students or whatever, like, and the girls in 9th grade, 10th grade, definitely, yeah, focus on you. And also, you know, enjoy that, you know, enjoy that time, because I have nephews that, like, all my nephews now, they like, except for one, she's a senior now, over at Winter Springs, and you know, I just talk to them and I'm like, you know, they want to finish so hard, like so bad, like so fast, like grow up so fast. I remember being that same person too. Like I wanted to grow up so fast. I wanted to, you know, do things like, so just take your time and be appreciative of these times where it's so no worries, you know? It's a lot of things that you can control a lot.
The wisdom we gain as we get older, huh?
Yeah.
It's funny how that works. So the last thing I'm going to ask of you is, as you know, our Lake Howell population is comprised of a number of Hispanic students. So I would ask of you if you could say something inspirational to our students in Spanish.
Okay, yeah, definitely. We're looking at this one. All right. Bueno, mi gente, mi nombre es Santiago-Rolón. Me ha encantado estar aquí con ustedes. Nada más les quería dejar saber que si siguen sus sueños, escuchen a mami y a papi, siempre, ¿verdad?, con la frente en alto, sigan aprendiendo mucho español, porque como ya ven, estamos on top en todo lo que tiene que ver con música, y eso lo que quiere decir es que, ¿verdad?, seguimos, ¿verdad?, hacemos ese grupo de personas que seguimos impactando al mundo, no tan solo, ¿verdad?, en la música, pero en todo el aspecto, ¿verdad?, que tiene que ver con cualquier tipo de trabajo, ¿verdad?, sea deportes, sea leyes, todo tipo de trabajo. Es súper importante que mantengan firme, ¿verdad?, su cultura, que mantengan firme todo lo que tiene que ver con, ¿verdad?, con su familia. Son cosas que son bien importantes, ¿verdad?, para nosotros como hispanos, y quiero que sigan adelante y que nunca se quiten, que nada de esto es imposible, y seguimos siendo estudiantes del juego, como siempre digo.
All right, this concludes our episode. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.